Well, the president calls him Sleepy Joe, the former vice president and 2020 Democratic hopeful on the campaign trail, downplaying China as a threat to the United States. Listen to Mr. Biden.
I've met virtually every major world leader in my role as vice president and as foreign relations chairman over the last 30 years. And that's not hyperbole. China is going to eat our lunch. Come on, man. They're competition for us.
Not competition for us. Biden apparently forgot about the hundreds of billions of dollars every year that China steals from the United States, or the almost $350 billion in trade deficits that we run with China and have throughout our relationship with China. The vice president didn't mention either that his son had a lucrative $1.5 billion equity deal with a Chinese state-owned bank. His son, Hunter, that is. But we're going to refresh everyone's mind, and I'm sure that other outlets will as well. Joining us tonight is Fred Fleitz, national security expert, president of the Center for Security Policy. Fred, great to have you with us.
Hey, Lou, good to be here.
Let's start with China. And the former vice president doesn't think it's a competitive threat. It means he's still out of touch, just like when he was vice president.
Well, Lou, I don't know how to put this. Look, Joe Biden has long been regarded as one of the dumbest men in Washington and a gaffe machine. And this is why, and I'm not kidding, this is why his campaign staff recently were physically blocking reporters from asking him questions because they were worried about gaffes. Now, compare this to President Trump, who constantly meets with reporters, takes all of their questions. So I think that President Trump is really looking forward to getting this guy on the debate stage.
I think that he wouldn't mind whether he's running against one of these 21, a trade to be named later, or the whole bunch of them. It still won't be a fair fight. I mean, I'm just stunned to think of the quality of what the Democratic Party has put forward. It is truly, just as I was stunned by the Republicans that were put forward by the Republican Party back in 2016. It's going to end the same way. Let's turn to China. We're listening to Xi Jinping speaking to the Chinese youth. We can put these full screens up. This is sort of an interesting, I think, a couple of expositions by the Chinese premier. Chinese youth in the new era shall listen to the words of the party and follow the words of the party. That sounds a little authoritarian. In contemporary China, the essence of patriotism is to combine one's love for the country with love for the party and socialism. He's a communist, not a socialist. What's going on here?
Well, this is an authoritarian state, and the Chinese government is very serious about it. It wants to rein in its people, to support the Communist Party, to support the Chinese state, and China expects its nationals abroad to continue to support the Chinese state, to steal technology, to promote the state. Yeah. They're a formidable adversary, Lou.
And China, this is based on the 2019 Pentagon report. We're taking a look at it, going through comparisons, and obviously considerable concern, saying that the civilian research could support a strengthened Chinese military presence in the Arctic Ocean, which could include deploying submarines to the region as a deterrent against nuclear attacks. China now the #1 shipbuilding country in the world, the United States 19th. What are we doing?
Well, I mean, this is another reason why what Mr. Biden said is so ridiculous. China is obviously a very serious military and political and economic threat. What I was really stunned by this report is what it says about espionage to recruit human assets against the United States, both intelligence officers, State Department officers, and ordinary Americans. China has a very aggressive program to steal our secrets using American citizens.
Yeah, the grains of sand approach. If all Chinese nationals expected to be carrying out espionage. Fred, very quickly, Venezuela, 3 days now since Guaido called for an uprising. It looks as though there's at least a loss of momentum, if not an impasse here. What do you expect to happen over the next few days?
I think Maduro will go eventually. It's going to take time. It worries me, these people talking about a military intervention. Look, I think forces on the table.
Which people?
Well, people in this country, some conservatives. I think military forces on the table.
The usual neocon nonsense, is that what you're talking about?
Look, that's right. President Trump does not want to get into a ground war in Venezuela. Let's say that very clearly. Forces on the table under certain circumstances, but this is not what we should be doing there. We have to find other ways, diplomatic ways, economic ways, pressuring Cuba and Russia and China to stop backing Maduro. It worries me. Too many people are talking about a U.S. attack on Venezuela. That is the wrong approach.
This president, in my judgment, will be this is the man who wants to bring our troops home. This is a man who has campaigned against idiocy of the neocons and the fools that have just wasted trillions and thousands of lives. He's not the man to do it again. And we have other resources as well. And Fred, you're always a great resource. Thanks.